Hello, my name is Ignacio Reda. I am a graduate student at the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez. We are live on the exploration vessel, the Nautilus, here in Hawaii using advanced imaging technology to map out the ocean floor. And without further ado, my esteemed guest, Dr. Bob Ballard, President and founder of the Ocean Exploration Trust.
Great to have all of you using this amazing technology pioneered by the Office of Naval Research, and we'll give you a little test of that technology in a few minutes.
Thank you. So I'll be passing over to the Chief of Naval Research, Admiral Rothenhaus.
Hey, well, first off, congratulations on what appears to be a wonderful exploration ongoing. And it is an honor for me to be here today and to join you electronically. I'm filled with jealousy. I would love to be at sea with you. And I know Dr. Drake is out there enjoying himself. And if you will share with him, I'm sorry for the 3:30 phone call this morning. I definitely owe him a beverage of his choice when he returns to the Office of Naval Research here in DC. But again, thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part of this. Ever since growing up, I've always admired at-sea exploration, and as a Navy sailor, I appreciate the hardships of going to sea, but also the sense of wonder and exploration. And thank you all for the science you do for this nation and the world. Back to you, sir.
Okay, Ernesto.
Yep, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this exciting research. I'm the director of the Department of Marine Sciences of the University of Puerto Rico, and we have 55 years of tradition in doing research in marine ecosystem and marine habitats. In the late 2008 and 9, we actually started to explore the mesophotic coral communities and go into deep area. One of our professors today is actually working in the trenches and had a recent expedition with the Alvin in the Northern Caribbean. And I'm glad that I have, one student of our group of students and one professor joining that expedition over there. And thank you very much for your invitation.
All right. Drake?
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Tom Drake from the Office of Naval Research. I'm the head of the Ocean Battlespace Sensing Department. We study all the environmental sciences for the Navy, from space through the ocean surface down to the seafloor. And it's the seafloor that we're focused on today. ONR provides funding to hundreds of institutions and thousands of investigators, over 5,000 graduate students and postdocs. And we're really proud to be working with Dr. Ballard in the Ocean Exploration Trust. And behind me, you'll see where we put the ROV Hercules into the water. It's doing some exciting stuff as I speak. So I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Ballard.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, this is a very exciting expedition. Again, thanks to the Office of Naval Research, we're testing a whole new array of imaging systems. We're on the bottom right this very minute. I don't encourage you right now to go to nautiluslive.org, but as soon as we conclude this presentation, please go there, and you'll follow us for the next couple of weeks as we use the most advanced exploration technology that's ever been.
Mike is muted.
Now, Mike.
You're.
Okay, I'm being told I'm muted. How's that? Am I live now? Testing. There we go. That's magical. Now, do I start all over, or were you hearing me through his mic? But anyway, yes, very exciting expedition going on right now. Now, my career with the U.S. Navy began actually 56 years ago, when I reported for active duty in the Office of Naval Research. And over that 56 years, I've been continuously working with ONR. In fact, I think, Admiral, I have the longest active grant in the history of the Office of Naval Research, and rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. So I expect that to continue into the future. Now, while on active duty, both as an oceanographer and a deep submergence officer in naval intelligence, I initially focused my work on the use of various deep submersible assets. Back in those days, that was the best way to get the Mark I eyeball to the bottom of the ocean. I worked, my deepest dives were in Trieste 2, down to 6,000 feet, not far from Puerto Rico, in the Cayman Trough, where we were examining the deepest volcanoes on Earth. I also spent a tremendous amount of time in a very special submarine the U.S. Navy had called the NR-1. When I was growing up as a child, I went and saw 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I wanted to be Captain Nemo. That's why my ship is named the Nautilus. But when I was assigned to spend a fair amount of time on this amazing deep diving submarine, the deepest diving nuclear submarine the Navy has, it was literally the modern version of the Nautilus. It not only could stay submerged for a month at a time, it had wheels you could roll along the bottom, and it had a viewport. So as I said, the closest you could get to my childhood dream in deep submergence. But I must say my favorite asset was the one developed by the Office of Naval Research and operated by the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, where I was assigned in March 6th, 1967. I reported to the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute as a scientific liaison officer for ONR. And then after I finished my active duty and went into the Naval Reserve, I spent 30 years at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, initially focusing on the development and use of Alvin, which is still very active to this very day. But it was Alvin that really conducted the first major expeditions of the largest mountain range on Earth in cooperation with the French. That little yellow submarine is the French submersible Siana. And we were exploring different parts of the largest mountain range on our planet. And initially with Project Famous was the early theory of plate tectonics, and through ONR's support, we were able to prove that that theory was in fact true, that the Earth consists of giant crustal plates that are separating along the axis of the mid-ocean ridge, which runs around our planet like the seam on a baseball. And along that boundary of creation, the Earth creates its outer crust. We then, after doing exploration of the mid-Atlantic ridge, which is a relatively slow spreading center at about 2.5 centimeters per year, we went into the Pacific, into the East Pacific rise, where the plates are separating at 10 centimeters a year. And there we really began to find some make amazing discoveries. The first was the discovery of these crazy features that, ironically at the time, I called them black smokers because they looked like black smokers until I got up close to them with our submersible Alvin. And I could see that in the first centimeter or two, the fluid was crystal clear. And I asked the pilot if he would find out how hot it was, and he wasn't too excited about that. But I was able to convince him to stick a probe into the opening of that chimney, and it pegged off scale, literally pegged off scale. And my pilot made that great scientific observation, that's hot. And when we pulled the device out, it completely melted. That was definitely really hot, 750 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. And my pilot reminded me, hot enough to melt our porthole. So we were very careful to back away from that one. But this discovery, when we did Project Famous and proved the theory of plate tectonics was accurate and became academic law, we threw away the geology book. But before this discovery, we could not explain the chemistry of the world's oceans. We knew it had a particular chemical assemblage, but when we looked at who we thought was causing that unique chemistry, we thought it was the rivers. We ran around the planet looking at all the major rivers, and the chemistry of the rivers was completely different than the chemistry of the world's oceans. And I majored undergraduate in chemistry as well as geology. And we couldn't do what we call the mass balance calculations. We couldn't explain the chemistry of the ocean till we studied these underwater high temperature smokers. And if you go back to the mid-ocean ridge, as soon as you create the crustal plates, as you can see in the upper left image, you pull it apart and you create deep fissures. Imagine 70,000 kilometers of deep fissures running around the planet, because as you have an active volcanism to create new crust, then it takes years for it to pull apart, and that provides a pathway for seawater to go inside the earth. And when we discovered these high temperature black smokers, we realized that the entire volume, think about it, the entire volume of the world's oceans was going inside our planet every 6 to 8 million years. And when we plugged all of that into our equations, for the first time, we balanced those equations and we threw away our chemistry book. Interesting how that was a major discovery, not only for its science, but what you're looking at here is mineral ore. The smoke is really not smoke. It's microcrystals of pyrite, chalcopyrite, and anhydrite, rich in copper, lead, silver, zinc, and gold, and most importantly, rare earths. So this is now unleashed this entire race to begin looking at the deep sea for mining, which is a very controversial issue now being discussed within the political world, scientific world, and economic world. How do you do that without having an adverse impact upon the environment of the ocean, which is still in debate? But those were important discoveries. But what really blew away everybody was living around these underwater hot springs were exotic creatures. So now we're going to throw away the biology book, because in our biology book, we were taught that all life on our planet is due to the sun. The euphotic energy coming off the nuclear energy of the sun travels through outer space at the speed of light, comes into our atmosphere, is then captured by the chlorophyll of plants, and it fixes carbon. And we were told that all life is based upon photosynthesis. Yet here in total darkness, in an area where you wouldn't expect to have exotic life forms, we had oases of life living around these hydrothermal vents, characterized by these giant tube worms. Some I've recovered are 13 feet tall, and they're sticking out. That red filament that you see sticking out of that white tube is literally the lung of the creature. It's literally ingesting in solution a poisonous hydrogen sulfide gas. And you will not only have these giant tube worms, you have giant clams. And these clams are a foot across, but they have human-like blood. You can see in the lower left, you'll see the human-like blood. And equally important, when we dissected them, we found that they had no internal organs. All of their internal organs were gone, and they had been replaced by another creature in the lower right called an extremophile that had learned how to replicate photosynthesis in the dark through a process we now call chemosynthesis. So out went the biology book, because we're now realizing that life can exist in very extreme situations. That's led us to work with NASA and the exploration of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and particularly Enceladus and Europa, where they have oceans, they have volcanic activity, and now there's efforts to find out if within those oceans there is actual life. So we expect to find life within our own solar system. But I think there will not be a plan B for the planet, as far as for the human race, as far as I'm concerned. Earth is our planet, and as you know, we need to do a little better job taking care of it. So that threw away the third textbook, but we also then entered into the area of maritime history and discovering all sorts of history beneath the sea. In fact, the oceans have more history in them than all the museums of the world combined. The United Nations estimates there's 3 million or more shipwrecks in the ocean, all with chapters of human history we've yet to find and read. That after Guadalcanal, I went after President Kennedy's PT-109, utilizing the technology of remotely operated vehicles. And so this is the age of remotely operated vehicles ushered in about 1981. The Office of Naval Research gave me a sabbatical to Stanford University when Silicon Valley was just cooking. And I came back and sat down with the artists at National Geographic. This article was published in 1981. Think about it, 42 years ago. This was my dream to create telepresence. The idea was to leave the human body behind and send your spirit. One of the biggest problems you have in deep sea exploration, when I was diving in the Trieste to 6,000 meters, 20,000 feet, it took me 6 hours to get to work in the morning and 6 hours to get home at night. The coefficient of drag slows you down. It's an exponential function. And so I was spending most of my time going up and down like a yo-yo, spending very little time on the bottom. And again, I went to the Office of Naval Research and proposed developing what we call the Argo-JSON system. And fortunately, they funded me. Again, ONR has always been a pioneer and a risk taker in moving us in technology, even to this very cruise, which we'll talk about in just a second. But the whole idea here was to literally move your spirit through the fiber down to the bottom of the ocean. Initially on the ship, but more recently, we can do it from shore. That new technology led to the historical discovery of the RMS Titanic in 1985 and the German battleship Bismarck in 89. Through the course of my career, I've found over 55 shipwrecks dating back to the time of 350 BC and actually 750 BC off of the Sinai. So the ocean, again, is full of amazing, amazing history. But that brings us to what we're sitting on right now. And that is the Nautilus. And this is the culmination of a 42-year dream to be able to boldly go where no one has gone before on planet Earth, but to involve everyone in the operation as we do it. The interesting thing about our program is we literally go where no one has ever been. And so you do have a little problem because you don't know when you are going to where you've never been what you're going to find. So how do you deal with the sudden discovery of something when you know the entire faculty of the university can't be on the ship? So we're running the Nautilus pretty much like an ambulance that goes out and brings someone into a hospital, and the hospital has to react to that situation. So here's how it works. So the Nautilus we're on right now has two vehicle systems underwater this very minute. One is the our vehicle Argus, or in this case Atalanta, which is the vehicle that is sort of directly coupled to the ship, so it moves up and down. But then on a long tether, it's connected to Hercules. So when we make a discovery, that imagery is going up the fiber into the Amazing Command Center right behind us. And then the watch leader has a book that has a list of all sorts of scientists all over the United States, actually all over the world, who are willing to be a doctor on call, because it takes a tremendous amount of time and energy to get to a spot. And when you make a discovery, you can't say, I'll be right back. You want to prosecute that discovery immediately. And we do that by literally having doctors on call in all disciplines ready to go. Well, naturally, we always make our discoveries Sunday morning at 2 a.m., but we then wake up the scientist in bed. So imagine you're a doctor on call for our exploration, and the phone rings Sunday morning at 2 a.m. You wake up, we say, boot up your laptop. You literally boot up your laptop in bed. We promise you it's one-way video that you'll only see us. And then we literally stream the discovery to you. And while in bed, you make the decision whether to get out of bed or not. 90% of the time, they not only get out of bed, they jump out of bed because they need to be connected to land. We built This is our remotely operated vehicle, Hercules, and this is what I refer to as carrying my spirit. Now, I know many of you saw the original movie Avatar, and in that movie, there was a war veteran by the name of Jake, and Jake they were trying to infiltrate these people that look pretty much like humans, Navis, who were about 8 feet tall, blue-green, had crazy little ears and a tail they plugged into a dragon. But so they were going to infiltrate this group. So they took Jake, a war veteran, into an operating room, laid him next to a Navi, and then bingo, the Navi's eyes opened up. And I don't think people remember what Jake did. The moment he realized he was no longer in his body, but in another body because he saw his toes moving, he got up and ran out of the room, if you remember. And they thought, oh gosh, he's freaked out. So they went after him and they said, are you okay? They said, yeah, I'm fine. Why did you run out of the room? And he said, I wanted to wind in my face again. Remember why he said that? Because he was a war veteran. He was paralyzed from the waist down. But when he saw his feet move, he didn't care they were blue-green. He got up and ran. And this is my Navi. Hercules, developed by the Office of Naval Research, is my Navi that makes it possible for me to beam myself somewhere else. And that's where the future lies. The future lies, particularly in the military, in a war of robotic technologies where the human is somewhere else in the game. And again, ONR has been pioneering us in the development of that technology and continues to do that. So this is where we are right now. There's our command center right behind us. Hercules is down. And then you'll see the switcher on the lower left decides what to put on the satellite. He puts it up on the satellite. It goes to our place in Rhode Island at the Inner Space Center. And there at the Inner Space Center, we're standing watches 24/7, just like we're at sea. And we then, through the use of Internet 2 Level 3, which all universities have, has a bandwidth of 10 gigabits, we're able to then reach out to academicians instantly. I fortunately have one of these in my home, so I just have to roll out of bed and walk about 20 feet, and I can be on the Nautilus, much like we're sitting here in the studio right now. But now we're going to another level of complexity. This is what we just finished doing, the cruise before this one, where we're now using autonomous surface vessels. When you look back, when you follow us, you'll see on the back part of the Nautilus is a big yellow crane, and we just offloaded a vehicle called DRIX. Operated by the University of New Hampshire, which is a partner in our cooperative institute. DRIX is an autonomous surface vessel that we can launch and literally go over the horizon. And not only can it map, which it can do, it can also become the mother to autonomous vehicles that go underwater, whether it's the Sentry, AUV at Woods Hole, or the Mesobot that's working in the deep scattering layer. It can literally go beyond the horizon, searching for things for us. And when they find new things, they can either tell the DREX vehicle through an optical or acoustical modem, which can then tell us, or they can come over to our remotely operated vehicle, Hercules, and say, hey, what you're looking at now is nothing compared to what I just found. That goes up the loop, out, we define missions, and we're able to then prosecute those missions. So it's pretty amazing. But the key, the most important part about our program is our core of exploration. We have every face, every pronoun. We have every American we need. We need every American to compete with the rest of the world. We only represent around 5.8% of the world's population. And for us to maintain our position in the world, we need every American. And that's why our educational outreach, once again, supported by ONR through our STEM program, is to use our technology to excite, engage, and educate the next generation. Here we are in the command center right now, and as soon as we leave, They'll start doing another live. We work 24/7. The ocean is always dark where we go, and we're able to constantly reach out. I remember when we were off Puerto Rico, we were doing live broadcasts. I remember the woman there that was a weather person in Puerto Rico said, the weather's going to be great. Let's go out to the Nautilus and see what they're doing. But it's really the opportunity to reach into classrooms and all sorts of venues that we do every day that we're at sea. And then we also have the amazing science and intern fellowships, again, that ONR supports. We want you to go to our website, nautiluslive.org, find out how you can become a person that sails on the Nautilus, whether you're a teacher or a grad student or an educator or an artist or an author. I love STEM, but I also love STEAM, where we add the arts, and we have lots of video engineers here who are in production who are in the arts. So it's an amazing opportunity. It's like a university at sea, mentoring the next generation. And then they all know at some point in the expedition, they're going to be live from their workstation. I might point out that picture in the middle is my daughter, Emily Rose, with a button nose, who started going to sea with me when she was 15, and she went to sea for 6 years before she went off into the video production industry. So here's our website, nautiluslive.org, and now let's take some questions out there. So do we have any questions from people that are watching?
Hey, I'll ask one first there. I don't want to hog all the time there, but it's fascinating. And thank you for the leadership in the STEM and STEAM outreach. I think that's just wonderful, and engaging with our partners and allies around the world. It was amazing, the connectivity and your ability to reach back. What was it like before you had all of that? I mean, how is your life at sea changed now for good and other there? Just a little curious, and I know our colleagues out there probably have wonderful questions out there too. Thanks.
Well, I went on my first oceanographic cruise when I was 17 years old in 1959. And I can remember the technology we used. It was a miracle we learned anything about the ocean back then. I remember when they would put a plankton net into the ocean and tow it around in the mid-water zone, the twilight zone, for hours, and then bring up this pile of goo and then say, what do you got? Well, it was pretty amazing. We were able to identify anything. We now have a vehicle we just used on the previous cruise called Mesobot that literally goes down into the deep scattering layer, because we know that 40% of all the biomass in the ocean lives in what we call the twilight zone. And they can't compete with the creatures in the sunlit zone. So they sit there all day and wait for the sun to go down, and then they come up. So Mesobot is able to go down, introduce itself to them, and live with them, and then follow them up. But it has on it chambers for measuring environmental DNA. This is a new, amazing tool in science, because a fish may swim away, but it leaves its scent. Mucus that it leaves off its body is then detected, and so we can tell who wasn't there then, but was there seconds ago. So this is, again, another extremely powerful tool that makes it possible. But yes, that was my first cruise in 1959, and I think I've lost track of how many I've done now, somewhere in 170. I don't know what the number is now. But to be able to share it with everyone, that's I think my true legacy is to be able to inspire and motivate the next generation to study a little harder and take that math and physics. And I double majored and double minored. I double majored in chemistry and geology, and I double minored in math and physics, and I became a Swiss Army knife. And I think that that's important for all of you that are in college right now. Don't specialize too early. Try to get that broad base. You'll see courses in your curriculum that don't sound very good until you go and take them. It's sort of like going to the supermarket. You see stuff like snails that you'd never thought you'd eat, but escargot is pretty good. So a key is taste everything that you can right now, so that you can be an explorer in your own right. You're going to live. I'm 82 years old in June, and I'm just getting going. So think about it. Don't be in a rush. Get a good education and then try everything. Science is always exciting at the cutting edge. But it's when two cutting edges touch that the real spark flies. So be very interdisciplinary, particularly if you're interested in the oceans. Another question?
That's a very good point. I actually have a question here directed at me. And just to go off what Dr. Ballard mentioned to diversify yourself. I started off studying coral reef ecology, doing study abroad in Belize and in Hawaii, and now I'm here back in Hawaii studying the deep ocean. And so my master thesis revolves around the work we're doing on here right now. And so in a nutshell, we're using advanced camera technology mounted on the Hercules, which is digitizing these underwater environments. And with that information, we're able to bring it back into the lab and virtually reconstruct these marine habitats. And in the long run, we'll hopefully be able to bring that to the wider audience and create this immersive kind of feeling that is basically the legacy of all this science culminating into this amazing virtual reality. And so, if I may just...
There we go. There we are live.
Yeah.
In fact, can we patch in someone, Larry or Jonathan on watch? Is it possible to get them in the game and tell us what we're up to right now? Can they talk?
I don't know. It's Maddie here in the control van. I can come and grab them real quickly. I don't know if we have them hardwired in from SPL to web, but let me grab them 1 second.
Yeah, maybe you can get Larry.
Yeah, 1 second.
Because we're right in the heat of the battle. These are amazing geological features called columnar joining. We're off the island of Molokai, and these are spectacular features that are caused when lava literally pools underwater. It's commonly found, if you remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and you remember Devil's Tower, that was all made out of columnar joining. When a volcano is dying, its final fluid magma coalesces and hardens and forms these amazing columnar joints, and they're solid as you can be, solid basalt, and then the volcano itself erodes away and you're left with its core. And that is very common if you've seen ship's rock out in the Arizona and New Mexico in the area of Monument Valley. You find these kinds of features, and so we're using a new immersive technology. Again, ONR is sponsoring us to make this into a three-dimensional capabilities. Are they able to talk?
Bob?
All right, Larry, take it. Explain what we're doing right now.
I think you were doing a pretty good job. Okay, we as Bob was saying, we're coming back down to this amazing outcrop, this columnar basalt, and I think he explained how they're made. Yesterday we came here with these new very, very high definition cameras set in a mode to create the widest field of view possible at ultra high resolution. And from that, literally within a few minutes after we surveyed the area, Jonathan, our video person, was able to create a full 3D rendering at very, very high resolution. Today, we're coming back to the same area, but with the cameras configured a little differently. And this time they're configured to optimize the view for something like an IMAX theater, a really immersive experience. Yesterday's was to really get that geospatial context, to in great detail see the large area. Today is to give that super high resolution view from wherever you'd look in a dome theater, or to get that fully immersive experience. So these are really very leading edge approaches to trying to see the seafloor in ways we've just never been able to see it before.
Yeah, this is not the final product. I mean, we cannot show that to you until we cook it a little. So we're gathering this amazing database of from optical and acoustical sensors, but the future of showing you the world will be to give it to you in a totally immersive experience. As you said when you opened the show, Admiral, you said that's an impressive command center that you have. Our goal is to make you a fish, and the technology goes away. And so when we get done with this, and I'll be coming down to DC in November, maybe I can show you the final product, but it's going to be an amazing immersive experience. And that's the new era of three-dimensional presentations. The young people, you got to go to the next level to get them.
Yeah, and Bob, if I could chime in here to say, what we really want is that everybody can share this experience wherever they are, and I think that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to have just broad ability to be able to explore at this level of detail.
And the technology behind this is driven by the video gaming technology.
Thank goodness for that.
As you know, so I'm not that bad on video games. This is not shoot less people and get more into the technology of what video gaming can do, but you're really getting a lot of people ready for an exciting technology and career path in video simulation and engineering. So we're very thankful to have that technology right now.
And Bob, I'm going to pass the mic over to Dan, okay?
All righty, super.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Got to go back to work.
All right. All right, Dan.
Hello. How's it going?
Could you tell them why ONR is interested in this?
Oh, because ONR is the research arm of the Navy, and the Navy goes everywhere in the ocean. And it's really important for us to understand everything about the seabed, how it interacts, the flows. What you're looking at right now is an old center of a volcano. And how did it erode away? And what are geological characteristics of it? And this just impacts not only our ability to understand the environment and everything, but also how, we can move forward and make it better.
Well, again, thank you, Dan, for coming out and seeing where the rubber meets the road, because that's important. Admiral, we got to get you out here next time. Let's plan this. So we're going to be over off Guam and in the Marianas Islands next year. So maybe we can make that happen. All right. Do you have any other questions?
We do. Somebody asked Dr. Ballard, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Follow your passion. I was, like I say, when I was growing up, and I'm dyslexic, so I was struggling in school and reading. And so I didn't read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But when I was 12, I went to see the movie 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I was inspired by the Nautilus. I came home and told, and parents always ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I wanted to be Captain Nemo. I'm sure I went into the other room and said, Houston, we got a problem. But the key was my parents did not laugh at my dream. It's your passion is so important, particularly if you struggled like I did in the early parts of my educational experience. I was able to overcome failure. And I think failure is the greatest teacher you're going to ever meet. But when it knocks you down, what gets you up is your passion. So if you don't have a passion, you won't get up. So follow your Zen, follow your passion. Don't let anyone ever talk you out of it, no matter what it is, because that's really what gets you through life and makes you run to work.
Incredible. Also have another question. Do you have to be a scientist to conduct deep sea exploration and research?
Not at all. I mean, if you go online and you look at who's in this container command center right now, go online to nautiluslive.org and look at the team at sea right now, and you'll see their little story that they tell. And every one of them got in this command center through another completely different pathway in life. You follow a pathway, but you need to know where you want to get. And we have 50 people on the ship right now, and every one of those 50 people took a different path in life to get to this very spot. And when you have a team, that's what I learned not only as a naval officer, I learned it in school athletics and student government and all of that. It takes a village. It takes a team. When I was playing college basketball, that ball didn't get through the hoop without the help of my other four players on the court at that time. Teamwork is so critical. I learned it in the military. Actually, before I was a naval officer, I was trained as a combat infantry officer during the Vietnam War. And again, getting that young experience at a very young age is very important. So again, I'm a big advocate of sports and student government and other ways to get you introduced to leadership and get you introduced to what it takes to have a team.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's actually been my favorite part on this cruise, is getting to know all the different scientists that work on here and make this mission complete. I've been able to grow beyond my own perspectives because of this incredible opportunity. We have another question here. Given the improvements in ocean science over the years, are you optimistic about large-scale remediation of marine issues?
Well, I think, the important thing about what we do is it's critical that the public values science. And because we have solutions, but unless we can communicate those solutions to you, I'm not a doom and gloom person. I believe that we can work our way out of the box we're in, but we are in a box right now. In the geological sciences, we have a new concept called the concept of Gaia. Look it up. Gaia basically says that the Earth is a creature living in a hopefully symbiotic relationship with all other life on our planet. We need to be in sync with Mother Earth, and right now one species is off the reservation, and that's us. So we have solutions about how to get more in tune with Mother Earth and the processes, but unless you respect science and respect what they're saying and act on that, it's not going to be a good end game for us.
Very well said. Could you mention some other strange differences between the animals that live in the depths of the Titanic compared to surface marine animals?
Well, again, we're in a world of total darkness. And until we discovered hydrothermal vents, we thought the deep sea was pretty much like a desert, living off the euphotic zone of particles coming down, feeding the deep sea, but there wasn't a lot of it. But when we found these hydrothermal vents, we found a very dense and rich and biodiverse community that showed us the ability of life to exist under all sorts of conditions. We were always told that we lived in the twilights, in the Goldilocks zone, where our planet wasn't too close to the sun or too far away, and weren't we lucky? But with the discovery of hydrothermal vents and extremophiles, and now the exploration of Io, the moon of Jupiter, and Enceladus, the moon of Saturn, we're finding that life can live in very extreme environments. So we are not alone in the universe. There's life throughout the universe, but the laws of physics pretty much confine humans to our solar system. So we may gaze out into the sky at night, but we're pretty well stuck to our own solar system. And so that makes how important the Earth is. I think the most important thing for me growing up was when they went to the moon, but on the way to the moon, the astronauts looked back at this little blue marble, this little tiny planet in a black velvet void of nothingness. And I realized that how finite the world I was. It wasn't a gigantic world, it was a very finite world. And remember that if you look at humans right now, 90% of most humans live on less than 15% of the planet. So we are land animals, and we need to, yes, explore all of Earth, but we need to take care of the land part of our planet.
And so as we continue to explore these underwater environments, what are the challenges with the ledges and the complex topography of these environments?
Well, fortunately, technology is accelerating the rate of discovery. What we just did on this last expedition where we had multiple vehicles in the water, we're getting now again in the Department of Defense developing autonomous vehicle systems where you literally have swarms of them, literally a pack of dogs that can go hunting for you. So the ability to increase your exploration footprint will accelerate our rate of discovery. So I think it's going to be amazing how much we learn in just the next decade or two.
Incredible. And so you mentioned DRIX. Do you think the autonomous vehicles are the futures of deep sea exploration? And if so, where does that leave people?
Well, remember, there's a human in the loop. Yes. No, DRIX is basically allows you to have what we call an end effector. We are land animals. You know, I think most people don't want to go to sea for 12 months a year. I get an allowance from my wife of 2 months at sea a year, and she goes, then I get credit. It doesn't count. But no, I think the ability of autonomous vehicles to take us where it's not safe for us to go, and where you know, I really enjoy sitting in my command center at home, literally. It's really funny. It took me a while to adjust to the fact that I was under the ocean in the Pacific and I had lunch in my kitchen in Connecticut. But I got used to moving my body at the speed of light. But I think what you're going to see, really what's going to be interesting, I'm the first of 13 generations of my family in America to go to college. So I'm very much for everyone getting to do what I'm doing. And that's what's happening. This is just the beginning of electronic travel. Imagine in the future, you'll have a room like this in your home. We used to call it the den when I was growing up. Well, the den is back. And imagine that you're going to get up and say, well, you want to go to the Serengeti? And bing, you're in the Serengeti. You're convinced you're there. You're talking to someone there. You're driving around, looking at the amazing animals. You're leaving no carbon footprint, and you get a phone bill. I mean, that is where we're the age of electronic travel. The Department of Defense has pioneered technology that then comes into our everyday life. And you're going to see that with this kind of technology we're developing right now, of giving you an experience that will just, you know, be remarkable, but you'll be able to do it from home. And you'll be able to do it instead of being a super rich person that flies around in a private jet. We have a future for you where you're going to be able to go to places you never thought you could go. And I think the more we travel, our spirits travel around the planet, the more it unites the planet.
Beautiful. I think many of our audience members can find a lot of parallels in being one of the first of their families to go to college, the first generation, and just embarking on this journey. So what has been your most memorable moment in the deep sea?
Oh, I've been lucky to have a lot of them. I think there was my memorable moment when I came back from the Titanic. I got 16,000 letters from young kids all across our country in the first week. My desk literally disappeared beneath a pile of letters. And every one of those letters said, what do I have to do what you do? Because this is 1986 and they were seeing Star Wars and R2-D2 and CP-30, but we had a real robot that went inside the Titanic. It was called Jason Jr. or JJ. And so they saw that the fiction was becoming a reality. And then the second sentence said, next time you go, can I go with you? And so I went again to ONR with a dream to do a program called the Jason Project. And I just met one of the ONR people aboard Kristen, was an 8-year-old when she did the Jason Project. I had over 12 million children go on my expeditions for 20 years. And to me, that's my true legacy. Yes, I found a lot of stuff, but my ability to reach out and motivate the next generation is, I think, the greatest thing I've ever been able to do.
Wow. So has this been the most exciting part of your job?
Yep. What we're doing right now. We're reaching out to a whole lot of people out there. So study hard.
All right. And lastly, apart from the internship, what are some of the opportunities that recent graduate students can apply for?
Well, we have programs for graduate students. If you look at our interns program, we have a lot of graduate students sitting behind us right now that are going through. You couldn't ask for a better mentoring experience because you're at sea 24/7, and you get the opportunity to have long conversations that you really never get at a university. This is you're literally living on this ship for weeks on end and have an opportunity to really have some pretty deep discussions.
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Ballard. Now we're going to go to Travis and Kristen to talk about more opportunities.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Travis Courtney. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Marine Sciences at the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez. And we're standing here on the app deck. You can see some cables running behind us. This is where we do all of the launching. So some of the business end for the footage that you saw on the screen up top. And we just wanted to highlight a couple opportunities for you so that you could get involved in ocean exploration. And so the first is at the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez. We have a series of programs in marine science, and that explores the physics, chemistry, geology, and biology of the oceans. And we also have a College of Engineering exploring all aspects of engineering. So none of this would be possible without critical development of all of the technology for ocean exploration and the sea. And so there'll be a QR code that pops up on your screen. If you want to scan that, that'll bring you with a series of links for accessing the department pages for UPRM faculty. And please contact them, contact us with any interest that you have for getting involved and getting engaged with either undergraduate research or graduate opportunities at the master's or doctorate level. So that's one great way that you can get involved. And I'm also standing here today with Dr. Mitchell, who's going to be talking about ONR's STEM internship programs.
Thank you, Travis. Yes, I'm Dr. Kristen Mitchell with the Office of Naval Research, and I am, in fact, the student that Dr. Ballard mentioned about the Jason project. I participated in that when I was in 4th grade. And so he gave me amazing opportunities, and I would like to make sure that you guys all know about the opportunities that are available to you now. One of the ones I'm most familiar with is the Naval Research Enterprise Internship Program, or NREP. And that is a 10-week internship with the Office of Naval, one of the Navy labs, one of 50 Navy labs through the Office of Naval Research. And that is a 10-week internship, a paid internship. The application is open currently and it closes on November 1st. Another internship or another fellowship program is the SMART Fellowship Program. This is a Department of Defense program that is open to undergrad and graduate students that are scholarship for service. So you get tuition and a stipend for your studies, and then you go on to work at a Navy or an Army lab or somewhere in the DoD, depending on where you start. You can work for a Department of Defense office after you finish your studies. And then lastly, there's the graduate level fellowship. That's a 3-year fellowship for graduate students to complete their studies and their research. And that is just a grant. And that one closes on November 3rd. And the SMART Scholarship closes on December 1st. So those applications are open and available for you to apply to right now. So don't wait and go ahead and get those applications started and submitted on time.
All right, awesome. And could you also highlight some of the internship opportunities available on here with Ocean Exploration Trust?
Yes, as Dr. Ballard mentioned earlier, there is the internship program where students are working on board the ship, sort of with the ROVs and the video team and the ocean scientists. And those are available with on each expedition. And also we have the Science Communication Fellows, and that's generally educators that are working with the team and doing outreach events like this one throughout the day and night. They're 24/7. So if students are interested in talking to the team when they're out here, they can request an interaction and they talk with the folks with the Science Communication Fellows and sometimes some of the scientists on board as well. And then those you can sign up for through nautiluslive.org. If both the internship, the fellowship, and then if you like to have an interaction, you can find those there as well. And all of the Navy and DoD information can also be found at navalstem.us. So that has a full list of opportunities for science and engineering with the Department of Defense and the Navy specifically.
Awesome, thanks so much. And you can also scan the QR code on your screen. It should be appearing up. So you can get at some of that pre-curated list of links for you to access all of those opportunities. That's what we have on deck for opportunities. Thank you so much to the crew of the Nautilus, the Ocean Exploration Trust, Office of Naval Research, and all the folks at the University of Puerto Rico Mayaguez for making this a possibility for us to join on the cruise today. Back up to you, Ignacio.
All right, thank you. So I just wanted to say a special thanks to the Chief of Naval Research, Admiral Rothenhouse, everybody, the support from the ONR team, and a special thanks to Dr. Bob Ballard. Thank you so much for giving your time. And I wanted to leave it off on this. For more information about opportunities, please go on the website, continue following us on nautiluslive.com. Thank you very much.
All right. Please study hard. It's worth it. Take care. Bye-bye.